All right, we are live on YouTube. Welcome to End of the World News. Everything is fake and lame. Today we have my friend of the show and friend of mine, Andrew from 6GAENDA podcast, where he talks about the things that they will not. How you doing today, sir?
That's what we do every day, boss. How you doing, Ben? Glad to be here. Yeah, man, everything's all happening at once, and everybody just kind of believes all the mainstream narratives that are going around. It's kind of crazy. It's like, it'd be crazy. Wouldn't it be crazy if COVID gave us this false confidence and then this one actually killed some people? So they could actually implement a global, health tyrannical, order.
Yeah. It's like too much of the toothpaste has been let out of the tube. You can't put it back in. And we're going to see how this plays out, where the chips fall. But they're definitely moving full steam ahead. And truthfully, I don't think there's anything we can do about it. I don't think that's ever the plan. That's why I just say focus on Christ in this podcast. We expose the falsities of this world, but not because I expect to change anything, but hopefully to bring people to the truth, which is God Most High and our Messiah. So it's a wild time. Like they're just hitting us with everything at once. This is one big slop sandwich.
Oh yeah, it always is. And and what I mean by going with the mainstream narrative is that I guess they're not really mainstream, but to me they are. Like the Jimmy, not Jimmy Dore in particular, but he's pretty extra vocal about not listening to this being a real crisis. But take for consideration if they were doing gain of function research with the hantavirus and they were making it more transmissible. And then they were putting the narrative out there. Come on, look at all the studies. It's not even transmissible. What are we talking about? If anything, it's just a symptom from the COVID shot. So only people that got the jab are going to get it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be genius to give people that false confidence and then let everybody go out there raw dogging and then they all get 40% blapped? You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, dude. So there's layers to this where people need to stay vigilant, dude. Can't underestimate your enemy. And you've got to always just stay vigilant and not think you know. You don't know.
Yeah. Hey, there's very few things I know. These are all our opinions, but let's start this off right now. I thought this was a very interesting title of a story coming out of the Wall Street Journal. The 33-day Atlantic Odyssey that turned into Havana virus nightmare. You got to love that number 33. It just keeps on popping up everywhere. And I want to play a video real quick and let's get into this. Check this out.
Look, that's our ship.
Purple!
An emergency message. Outbreak of the deadly virus is spreading rapidly.
A virus?
Worrying new challenge in efforts to contain the hantavirus.
All we want right now is to feel safe.
For now, nobody is being allowed off the boat.
All ships must remain at sea.
Have fun! My booze!
Real quick. Remember when I came onto your show and we were talking about the cover of The Economist?
Absolutely.
And how it all looks like it's a circus into a ball and it's being kicked by a soccer player.
Yeah.
And with the World Cup being, a month to 2 months away, can't you see how all this chaos, everything we're about to talk about is kind of percolating, boiling.
Can I interject?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
What if that ball also was it looks a lot like the COVID virus that they it looks like, right? It looks like a virus. With the all the things that come out on the end, it's not a perfect ball. It's got the little strands coming out, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like a virus does. I just think that's interesting. Maybe
the reason why I say it's a soccer ball is because on the very lower part of it, there's a soccer player kicking it into motion. Like
I think it's a dual use thing, though.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. I think you're right, but also is it like a dual use thing where it's also like maybe this, because it's definitely very crazy, dude.
It is very crazy, right? And let me play the rest of this and then let's get into this.
It's the same disease that killed Betsy Arakawa.
Wait, pause that. Okay, that's a big one. Because, dude, This dude, Gene Hackman, first of all, do you remember when he died? Trump made a tweet. This was like the first time Trump tweeted out when somebody died, something super awful that I can recall at least. He may have done it before, but this one was big because he was president when he did it. And he's like, it's good that guy's dead. Like just the whole thing about him. Well, this guy was in a movie. I've got it saved and we could show it later, but the movie's interesting too. That I cannot remember off the top of my head because I just saw it. Maybe somebody will remember down in the chat because they probably saw this as well. But we'll check it out later. But the movie he was in is interesting with the times we're in. So I'll check that out while you play the rest.
Yeah, it is interesting that Fontavirus, right? That's what it's called, kind of crept on the scene through this weird death of both Gene Hackman and his wife. And there was a lot of like speculation around this. There was a lot of mystery. They like showed up dead like a week in their house until somebody found them. And we know Gene Hackman is part of the machine. He's one of the biggest Hollywood A-listers ever. You don't get into that position without selling your soul and be a puppet to their agenda. So once again, they're kind of throwing it into the ether, speaking it into existence, in this magic trick. And maybe this is where they were planting the seeds to get it into our psyche, along with clearly the Simpsons, like they always do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just no, I was just gonna say also what's funny is they pointed out that his wife was dead for like a week before he was, and then he died of a heart attack. So he's walking around his house with her dead. But they left out the fact that like this guy was like not there, dude. This like lady was taking care of him. He was
So the lady in there was allowing the wife to be dead in the house for a week without doing anything about it.
Right.
That's so weird. I mean, I don't really buy that story.
Yeah.
Who knows? But like I said, with all these magic tricks, I believe they have to speak it into existence, right? I think it's part of manifesting what they want. And that's probably what they did with Gene Hackman and his wife.
Oh, absolutely.
Hackman.
According to the newspaper, FEMA was called out to manage an outbreak of the hantavirus. I'm saying it wasn't the hantavirus.
They're buying it. They're buying it.
Your father and I were recruited for a project. They told us it was biological warfare, a virus. What killed those men? The silent weapons.
There we go.
Silent weapons? Is that what he just said?
Silent weapons.
And what is he talking about? He's talking about alien colonization is really the purpose of the hantavirus. And we just had the UFO documents disclosed today, didn't we?
Yep. That's all coming.
Isn't
so what
that
do you think?
Interesting.
What do you think this hantavirus is? Do you think it's real? What's your take on all that?
That's again, like I think that it's one of those things like it could be real. It could be all fear mongering like usual, to try to implicate more measures. Cause we'll go over it in a little bit that, as you pointed out in your tweet, that there was different leaders of different countries calling for a global health order as if we don't already have like the WHO, the CDC. So whatever. But anyway, they're calling for a global health order and they want obviously one world order, full, tyrannical system. But if you could get a health crisis to implement that, great. If you could get World War III to implement that, great. All of it, UFO disclosure, like the whole thing, that's kind of what they're doing. They're hitting us with everything. It's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know if this is going to be the virus. We don't even know if viruses are real. I mean, for all I know, they could be cranking up the 5G and zapping everybody that put all those nanoparticles into their body with the Cooties 19 jab. I was talking that with my co-host Cindy, and we were just kind of laughing about it. I'm like, man, isn't it wild that like when a virus happens, we're like, it's probably the 6G cranking everybody up. But I truly believe that. And that's just what wild times we're living in. And whether or not this is going to be it, if it's fear mongering, I'm with you. I don't know. But the one thing we do know is what their end goal is. And their end goal is to wipe out all of us, at least the majority of us. Just look at the Georgia Guidestones. Yeah. If you read, prophecy, which they're trying to manufacture, I think 25% of the population, then 1/3 of the population, then about half of the population all dies during this time. So we know what they're trying to do. The question is this what's going to be the straw that broke the camel's back? Like, is this going to be the actual, I hate to say epidemic or pandemic because I don't know really what it is, whether it's poisons, the 6G, you name it, the side effects of the vaccine. But this could be one of their plays to truly thin their herd like they want to do.
Well, I love that you just brought up the 6G aspect to this with the neurological warfare, especially when you're thinking of, a pandemic. It just instantly put me to James Giordano. And then you started talking about the 6G aspect to nanoparticles, maybe, whatever. Maybe it's not really a virus. Maybe it's actually some type of technological warfare that's going on neurologically that makes you think you're sick, which is exactly what Giordano laid out. So we'll definitely show that. But if I may, I found the movie that Gene Hackman was in. And I think it's very important to show this because, dude, wait till you see it.
Yeah. Are you going to upload it? So I got to bring it up?
I got it. So I got it shared. It's on the bottom.
Okay, cool. Add it to
stage.
stage?
Yeah.
All right. So let's throw you up on the stage.
Dude, wait till you see this. So he was in a movie, and it was called The Hunting Party.
And what was it about?
So this is about, like human hunting, right?
Oh, right. Well, we know that's what the elites do. They tell us in their movies.
Exactly. So on here, it's just funny because I forgot, people were here. Hold on. We can read this little excerpt here. The people who rule us know that they create reality with our thoughts. They know how quantum physics works. This is why your human farmers make us watch the coming attractions at the movies or the movie trailers, like we just said, right? What we see becomes a trail for us to follow, and we attract into our reality the pictures that they place into our minds. So again, to that, why do they tell us what they're going to do before they do it? Well, that's that way you'll help manifest that into reality. It's called a hypersigil, right? So if they make a movie about something that's not necessarily real yet, but you get to thinking it's real, get all that emotion tied to like, oh my God, this could be a thing. Well, that actually could manifest it in their eyes, right?
Well, that's the entire alien disclosure thing and the whole technological revolution. I mean, if you watch old sci-fi movies from like the 60s, 70s, or even 80s, you definitely see all the technology that we see today. And I think that to plant the seeds in our minds, so when it does happen, we're not scared, but also so they can then steer the narrative. It's kind of like a media limited hangout, right? They're going to give you their narrative of it. And maybe we can get into that with disclosure or even with the Havana virus, right? So they can then skew it another way. Like you said, even what's it called? Jimmy Dore's coming out and talking about that, but they're still talking about it as if it's like a real virus or something, or not a real virus. And I don't even know if viruses are real.
Right. No, he's just saying don't listen to it at all. Just don't fall for it. Don't go for it. Yeah, which is like fine, but also at the same time, it's like, well, be careful there, dude. That all these people with really large audiences are telling everybody, don't even listen to it. And it's like, all right, I hear you, but also, what if you're like totally fucking them? There's an aspect to this where it's like they're playing 4D chess and they know that they taught you a lesson with COVID. So this lesson might be the real lesson where people actually get fucked up. And then they're like, see, this is why we need that global order. See, you guys don't know how to listen to us. You think we're always lying. So this constant exposure of corruption, things like that, it's just the degradation of people's trust in the system has led to, they know that people aren't going to listen if they unleash a pandemic right now. So beware. That's all I'm saying. Not to say I'm right, but just it's an aspect to this that we should look at.
Hey, I'm with you because at least within my own family, I had a bunch of people in my family that took the Cooties 19 jab just so they could work and things like that. And, not right away, but at least now they know that it was all BS. And there's a large segment of the population that still might believe in modern medicine, but sees through the lies of the Cooties 19 pandemic and the mRNA vaccine. Right. So for them to stick something in their bodies again over a nothing burger, it's not going to happen. To your point, to get that population that is kind of becoming distrustful, at least with these pandemics happening now or pandemics happening now, I think in order for them to accept what you want, there has to be a lot of casualties. Like it has to scare the crap out of them.
Yeah.
In order for them to go do what you want to do. Now, I don't think we should live in fear.
Right.
There's nothing we can do. Everything is out of our control. And if you're right with God, guess what? We got nothing to worry about, right? I mean, that's when we're truly healed. But yeah, who knows? But it definitely looks like it's one giant soft sandwich, and it's just the snowball's going down the hill, and it's getting bigger and it's getting bigger. And what you said about Jimmy Dore and a lot of these people with large platforms, the one thing I would like to say, everybody with a large platform, guess what? They got everything wrong.
Oh yeah, usually they do, right? Usually they do. So if this time
Yeah.
they're telling you, hey, don't even listen to that dude. These guys don't know what they're talking about. Listen, I learned my lesson last time when I was wrong, so this time I'll be right, right? And that's the
Yeah.
idea. And okay. I was right
Yeah.
last time, and I think I'll be right this time, maybe. So how about that? So it's a little
Yeah.
different than these guys. But it's funny that Jimmy Dore actually maybe I should show you this first.
Yeah.
Just because I got this pulled up here. We could pull off of my screen after that. But yeah, so I was like, I wonder what the best way to find this is. I've been posting a lot on here. Yeah, I was like, Mama, I made it. Because Jimmy Dore, he sent me this picture here. Your odds of being struck by lightning are more than 7 times greater than getting hantavirus in the USA. About 250 people get struck by lightning each year. There are about 35 cases of hantavirus each year in the according to the UEA, with about 12 deaths per year on average. So obviously the hantavirus shouldn't be a concern for the vast majority of Americans.
Jimmy George sent you that?
Yeah, because I said, I was just like, relax, this, I said, this could be giving us false confidence because of the COVID situation. I was like, so this is 40 chess, we got to stay vigilant, essentially. And so he sent that, and I was like, I'm aware of that, but, you're obviously very aware with Fauci's gain of function research, and his indictment is actually, the timeline for his indictment is about to run out just in time for them to be talking about another pandemic.
Yeah.
I was like, here, I'll send you a video to prove what I'm saying, and let's look at this. So this is his buddy, James Lee, right? So he's had James Lee on. So it's not just me. His buddy is posting this video where they're talking about gain of function as a possibility with this hantavirus. So let's check this out if you want.
Yeah.
From human to human, it needs to be through very close contact, like sexual intercourse, which is generally not required for a virus like SARS-CoV-2 or influenza.
Is that right, doctor? Because I don't think the KLM flight attendant who is now hospitalized was banging the infected passenger who later passed away. So what the hell could be going on here? Could something have changed in recent years? A mutation of sorts? Maybe even a man-made one? This is a tweet from 2012 from Jason the Germ Guy Tetro, who is an immunology researcher. And he said, quote, overheard behind me while watching H5N1 NAS workshop today. You really want to make a pandemic, make hantavirus.
Look at that, dude. Make hantavirus transmissible if you want to make a pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they've been talking about this. And then on top of that, you showed in the very beginning of this, The Simpsons had the hantavirus, I believe, featured on that. But isn't it funny that it was called the COVID cruise?
Yeah.
Or the Corona cruise, rather. The Corona cruise. Come on, dude. That's genius.
For
They know what
33
they're
days?
doing.
Yeah.
It's a multi-purpose episode. You could use that for the COVID or the hantavirus situation.
Yeah. The one thing, once again, with this James Lee guy, he's definitely
I don't trust him.
promoted. I'm not sure if I trust him. He puts out some good videos, but once again, I go back to, are viruses even real? And if you're still posing it as a virus and that it's gain of function, then once all these people start falling off because they've been zapping everybody with 5G,
Oh, dude, yeah, I'm with you.
they're more likely to go to the hospital and stick more,
So we're in the dichotomy
stuff
right
into
now.
their body, right? So yeah.
It's the dichotomy right now. It's either this is more transmissible now because of gain of function. So therefore we could get sick. So therefore we do need more health measures, or don't listen to them. And, really it ends up being bad. And then of course that ends up with health measures, or you can listen to the mainstream, which is saying, take the vaccine that's coming out, the mRNA vaccine for hantavirus that'll be coming out. So either way, you end up with health measures, kind of no matter what. I'm with you here, actually. So I guess after this, we should play the James Giordano thing just to show kind of what you're saying, where the way he explains it is really awesome, because he kind of explains how you don't actually have to get anybody sick. You just have to give one person neurological symptoms, which lead to physical symptoms, which make them think they're sick, and then it can spread via a psychological effect. Isn't that crazy?
Well, I think they're definitely doing that psychologically, and I think this time is going to be the physical. If this is, like I said, I'm not going to say this is what's going to be it, because it could be a nothing burger.
Of course.
But, I don't really subscribe to everything as a distraction from the Epstein files. I think it's all part of this global agenda that they're trying to push. The Epstein files are tied to what's going on in Israel, Iran, and, the Middle East right now in America. So people aren't forgetting about those. In fact, if you go on X, they're screaming about it more than ever. It's a distraction of the Epstein files. No, it's all one and the same. So yeah, I don't think it's a distraction too much. And at some point, like we've said, we know what they want to do, right? They have it in the Georgia Guidestones. You read Bible prophecy and the number of deaths is huge, and we know they're trying to manufacture this. So we know that this is coming. It's just a matter of when, and it's just a matter of this is it.
No, exactly. I'll play out a little bit more of this, see what he says, because he's got some other people. I guess he's mostly referencing other people, so I guess we can kind of listen to.
Yeah,
it.
play. No, it's interesting. We need to know the mainstream narrative, and let me tell you something. This is the mainstream narrative now too.
No, that's what I was saying in the beginning. I was like, people are just listening to mainstream narrative, and I'm thinking of like Jimmy Dore, but most people when I say that, they're like, what, Fox News or like CNN? No, I'm still like, I'm on like the new kind of idea of what mainstream is. I don't think anybody watches that.
No one. That's the thing. It's like I go after the mainstream alternative media a lot, and people are like, why aren't you talking about the $7,000 club or the Zio shills or the mainstream media? Because none of the people who listen to my show or follow me on Instagram or X believe that stuff. Yeah. And those people that do believe that stuff, I mean, if you haven't figured it out by now, I don't think there's any helping you, right? And what I see is the sheep's and wolf's clothing within the mainstream alternative media. And they're deceiving a whole bunch of people that were wised up, that had eyes to see and ears to hear from the mainstream media, only to be led down another path with this infiltration of intelligence and hanger-oners of the intelligence assets within the whole media platform that we have today. It's one and the same, and they're dependent on each other, right? The mainstream media says something stupid, which then gives the talking points to the mainstream alternative media, just totally skewing the absolute truth and keeping us divided.
Always. That's the main point. And, speaking of that, somebody commented whenever I mentioned that, you could use something like COVID, which isn't as bad as they say, and then, give false confidence. So later you can unleash something real, and then it actually gives you, desired effects, right? And to my surprise, somebody's comment on that was like pretty much saying that that COVID not being as bad, or it wasn't as bad just because I didn't have people that died from it. So in other words, COVID was bad. I was like, oh my God, dude. I was like, I expected maybe arguments about like, oh no, dude, this shit isn't gonna be legit or whatever. But no, this guy's arguing about whether or not COVID was bad still. And I'm like, dude, you've had 6 years to catch up, like over half a decade. I'm not gonna sit here and like, give you all the reasons why. Cause I was like, dude, the vaccine did more harm than the actual disease.
Yeah,
what are we talking about? And he's like, oh, how? He's like, what? He's like, what man actually thinks like that or something like that? I'm like, dude, I'm like, dude, you've had 6 years to figure this out. I'm not gonna sit here and try to like back engineer your own fucking knowledge and shit. Like, go figure it out yourself. It was just crazy to me that there's still people out there that thinks that that's legit. So that's how much of a cognitive dissonance we're at, dude. So don't get any kind of fucking optimism with this. Honestly, I try, but it really is. It's bad. Either people are just, it's bad.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, and regardless of what happens, we should never let that knock us off that narrow path, right?
Right.
We know what is true, and at least we know what God expects out of us during this time. And to me, when all this starts self-rolling, it's like, now's the time to go, all right, game on. Let's do it. Let's stay remained in truth, real truth. Let's not go the way of the world. Follow all these different factions of the media and say the truth, but ultimately to lead people to God. That's like my whole thing.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's what we're doing. Did you find that thing on James Giordano?
I'll pull that up here in just a second. I'll play the rest of this and I'll pull
Okay, cool.
Human transmissible. Purely hypothetical, but I think the question that everybody has and everybody wants to know is, have we been doing something like gain-of-function research on the hantavirus? Well, here's what I found. Quote, research into the hantavirus often involves studying viral entry, replication, and pathogenesis to develop vaccines and therapies. While much research focuses on understanding natural virus behavior, some experiments aim to enhance, reduce, or alter viral characteristics like transmission or virulence to better prepare for potential outbreaks. Then it goes on to the key areas of hantavirus research. The Andes virus, which is the one that we're dealing with right now, ANDV, studies on ANDV, the only hantavirus known to transmit between humans, are critical for understanding pandemic potential. Researchers use lab models, including stem cell-derived organoids of lungs, hearts, and brains to study how the virus infects tissues. And then a little footnote, this is where it gets interesting. The studies mentioned, such as those published in PLOS Pathogens in 2025, are typically aimed at improving understanding of the virus rather than intentionally creating a more dangerous pathogen for malicious purposes, but they still fall under the broad definition of gain-of-function research. So no, we're not doing...
Now, the Andes virus is the one that actually transmits from person to person. And so there is a way to actually kind of, you know, make it more...
So is the claim that he's making is that they took this virus and then made it airborne through some type of...
Somebody's making that claim and he's kind of espousing it, yes.
Yes, yes.
And so it's not outside of the realm of possibility. I mean, there's allegedly like 40 people that got off of the cruise ship before they even knew that there was all this going on. And those people kind of just went out and dispersed. And no health officials even got to them. So it's possible that they let it kind of leak a little bit, right, before this kind of turned into a big news event.
Well, what if it was just a poisoning, right? What if they actually poisoned those people on that boat and what they were... the symptoms they were showing? I mean, isn't that what what's it called was talking about in The Simpsons? How it was a poisoning?
No, exactly.
What if they just poisoned those people on the boat and it wasn't a real virus or anything like that?
Well, exactly, and that's kind of what we're going to point out right here with James Giordano.
Okay, all right. This is really interesting right here. James Giordano.
And
he works for DARPA. Do you know where it is on the video?
Yeah, I'm kind of right. I kind of got a rough idea. I believe it's right about here. Novel neuro-weapons. He's talking about obviously all the different ways that we could use neuro-weapons. Now, this is with nanotechnology. I mean, dude, there's so much good stuff in this video. If you haven't listened to my video on Dr. James Giordano, go back and watch Neuro-Warfare. I did an episode on that. And I also did an episode on Smart Dust. Those are two great side-by-side episodes to check out that explain what he's saying here a little bit better without the context here. Mm-hmm. So, and I know you've done some videos on him as well.
Yes, this is really, and he works for DARPA. He is a major player in all this stuff. And
he has his own division. It's called Unconventional Warfare Technologies or something that they created that he became the head of. So they pretty much created his own kind of like a group within the federal organization for doing warfare.
Yeah. And this guy is nuts. I remember I was watching this and he was talking about all these crazy things that they can do. And you just have all these military cadets like, yeah. Like he was so pumped about it.
Oh, he loved it.
You know, and what's funny is a normal person would watch this and go, man, it's amazing what we can do to the enemy. Imagine all of our tactics, what we can do to the enemy. And what you realize is that we're the enemy. We are the enemy of the government. All people are the enemies of their governments. And all these psychological operations are meant against us. And within these other countries, their countries are doing the same thing. So, you know, there's no good government out there that has the, you know, best intentions for their people.
Yeah, and he has a tattoo. I'll try to find it while we're watching this. But he has a tattoo that's very interesting on his hand that I'm trying to remember exactly what it is. But it's kind of like a crusader almost tattoo. It's really interesting. Holy shit. I'm going to have to save this as well. And we'll look at this. Okay. All right, let's do it. Pull this up. So this is about the area where he's giving a scenario of something you could do to give the, you know, if you were a nefarious character. So let's check this out.
Might be targeting individuals on a level that allows either direct attribution or covert engagement with non-attribution. Let me give you an example of what I mean. So this gentleman is the leader of some group, a political group, a social group, a combative group, and under the veil of a white flag, he and I are now to have some kind of a caucus, a meeting. And during that meeting, what I do is I lace the rim of his drink or his pen or his seat or something in his immediate environment with very, very low dose drug or toxins that are going to affect his stability. They may affect the way his brain works. And as a consequence of that, they can affect the functions of his brain, his thought patterns, his relative emotionality, and the behaviors that go along with that. One of two things might happen. He might be completely incapacitated as a consequence of this, or he may change his level of capacity and engagement so that he went into the meeting thinking, I hate this guy's my enemy. He walks out of the meeting going, I love this guy's great. Now, what could happen? If, in fact, this is a gentleman who has charismatic, financial, elected, or dictatorial power, it may be that his followers will then follow him blindly. He came into the...
So he's talking about using these weapons to try to control other leaders of other countries. I think after this, he starts to talk about another scenario, which I'll try to skip to without skipping over.
Yeah. Well, real quick, when you were saying that, I mean, if they can poison world leaders, why couldn't they have poisoned everybody on that boat?
Oh, exactly. Yeah, you just said that earlier. Exactly. You
Yeah,
said
he
poison.
was
So
talking
here
about
we
that's what
go.
we do.
I'm glad we started there then. You know, and when you look at this neuroparticulate agents, what does it say here? High CNS aggregation, lead carbon silicate nanofibers. Really crazy words to pretty much say nanofiber, a network of disruptors that they can put in your body, self-replicating nanoparticles that can turn into nanofibers, which is exactly what the synthetic fibers are that Eric FMA came on and talked about. So these are real things.
Oh, absolutely.
Better to have that plane return home with wounded crew who are spitting up their lung that was previously relatively benign and non-pathogenic and then shoot them down.
All right, we're good.
Because the psychological effect will be rippling and devastating. This is sometimes referred to as the Malin effect. What can I do? I can use a particular bug that I may be able to now modify through
3333. He starts talking about this, dude.
Wait, shut up.
Dude, I swear to God, what are the odds that at 3333, look at my, dude, what are the odds that at 3333, this guy starts talking about a neural bug that he can modify, and he's about to get into it now. That's exactly what we're fucking, dude, this is actually.
Well, I wonder if it's just the demon inside of him that's giving this speech.
It's a natural. Yeah, dude, yes, like God speaks through, you know, pastors or whatever. It's the same concept, you know, as he's channeling the fucking Beelzebub, you know?
Yeah.
the use of gene editing technique that is ubiquitously available and fairly easy to use to take a bug that was previously relatively benign and non-pathogenic and make that bug virulent, pathogenic, dangerous. And then what could I do? I could introduce that bug in key sites. Des Moines, Seattle, Tampa, Newark, Houston. I'd get a few people sick. I'd do it on an airplane, do it at an airport, do it at a sporting event, do it on Black Friday. And then what I would
do it on a cruise ship. That's what he's getting into.
I would take credit for that, but I'd want to make sure that at least part of the symptomatic constellation was not only neurological, was profoundly psychological. Agitation, debilitation, sweating, stomach problems, sleeplessness, cardiac
pause it real
problems,
quick?
things that are what we call top down.
Yes.
Listen, everybody listening to this, right? When you listen to this, think about how COVID started, right? Just think about how COVID started. And this is spot on to a T, the way they rolled this out. And they're going to do it again
like a year
the same way.
COVID. This was like a year before COVID or something, right? And also, you know, what he's describing here is neuro-weapons, a little neuro bug, a little nanoparticle that you couldn't even see, because in this same video, he talks about how you can fit a tiny thing that could infect the whole room on the tip of your pen. You hear that? The whole room can be infected with something as tiny as the tip of your pen. He says that in this. So take that and extrapolate from there and go, okay, he's now saying that you could take that and it may be just a neurological thing it causes, but that neurological problem causes physical ailments that make you think you are sick, which then could lead to this idea of a pandemic eventually, as he'll explain. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Neurological in their effect, brain to body and body to brain in the bottom-up cascade.
That's it right there.
Then what I would do is I would get on the internet and I would put out over the internet, I did it. Oh yes, I'm that dangerous G group that you should all be afraid of. And in fact, this is far more ubiquitous than I let on. These are only the first cases. I've let these buggies go all over the country, and your early warning signs are agitation, anxiety, worry, sleeplessness, stomach problems, heart problems. What have I done? I've rippled the sheets of the worried well. At first blush, I get every hypochondriac running to their physician, but at second and third blush, I get those individuals who begin to become worried that they may have been exposed to this, that the children may have been exposed to this, that their loved ones, their kin, their kith may have been exposed to this. Of course, the physicians, the CDC, the Public Health Service comes back and says, no, that's not what's going on. But I get back on the internet and I say, oh, don't you listen to that. That's fake. That's false. Your government knows what's going on. They can't do anything about it.
Now, I think there's an inverted version of this going on currently. I'm kind of the bad guy in this scenario where I'm like, well, hold on, this could be actually real. But it seems that, you know, this was the first time, you know what I mean? It's kind of weird. You could reverse this a little bit as far as the dynamics go.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think Cake and Cup is onto something. There's no such thing as a virus in a natural world. However, what was Giordano talking about? Poisons, right? And they're still going to use the same psychological stuff on us as well. But I think, we go back to the people that kind of looked at the side effects of the Cooties 19 jab. And wasn't that the Havana virus or something like that? So who knows how
1,200 side effects. There's 1,200, and it was one of them listed was this pulmonary symptoms from the hantavirus or hantavirus.
Yeah. So I think, and if you look at what virus, I believe means in Latin, it means poison, right? So I definitely think we're going to see the effects. I think the effects are going to be real, possibly, right, to really scare people this time. But I'm just a little I question it when anybody in the media, and that doesn't mean you're, selling out if you believe in viruses. I just don't know, to what Cake is saying, if it's an actual airborne virus and it's not just some type of poison or some type of 5G attack on people who had already taken that jab and has all those nanoparticles and graphene oxide and all that kind of stuff in them.
Exactly. And that's what he's pointing out. It's really just neurological symptoms that go from brain to body and make you believe that it is more of a debilitating effect than it really is, and then that spreads. It spreads through, people just hypochondria, essentially.
Well, just think about Cooties 19. What happened first? Oh, everybody was losing taste in their mouth or something like that, right? And that, I believe that was psychological. That whole losing taste. Oh my God, I got it. I got to go to the hospital. I think that was 100% psychological, especially after watching this video.
Did you lose your taste and smell?
I didn't, fortunately. Listen, I don't really get sick too much. So I don't think I ever got the flu when Cooties came out, whatever the flu is. But no, I didn't get it. And I was around it. I wasn't scared of it.
Here, I'm gonna pull up in here. You can pull that off for a minute. I just want to mention, with that, there's an aspect to that fits exactly what we're talking about for people out there that did lose their taste and smell. Because I know for a fact that is a real thing, only because it happened to me as far as smell goes. I didn't even get sick, dude. I had no symptoms. At one point, I had weird back pain. I was like, God, I feel stiff. What's going on? And it was just kind of weird. And I tested positive for COVID, right, during that time because I looked, right? But the thing is, I didn't have any symptoms really, but I did lose my smell in a weird way where I could only smell this weird vinegar smell. It was very weird. It was this odd smell I'd never smelled before. It was like a mixture of vinegar and something else. Now check me out here. When you listen to Dr. Brian Ardis, and he talks about this idea of vaccines actually being poison and it actually being caused from snake venoms and things like that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how the fuck this could have happened to me. But what I do know is that he said that after somebody has had they had to get anti-venom because they had such a bad venomous reaction, that they tend to, one of the symptoms from that is losing their smell or taste and having a weird pungent smell kind of replace it. That's exactly what happened to me. So my point is there's something there. Yeah. It's not a vaccine like we think it is, but there's something, and I'm not really sure what the hell that is. And since then I've had weird brain fog and shit like that ever since. They call it long COVID. But Dr. Brian Ardis said that is also something that happens with people who have had anti-venom serum given to them because they almost died from a venomous reaction. So there's something to that. And so for anybody that, thinks, no, COVID's definitely real because I lost my taste and smell, not necessarily. There's other things that could actually have caused that go along with this theory. So just a thought.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I think a lot of the stuff that people were experiencing in the very beginning was either poisoning or psychological. And Giordano right there just said, hey, we do it all. No stone unturned. This is a multi-layered psyop. And we're going to get you one way or another. And I think this time, and then maybe we'll move on to disclosure and I'll pull up some stuff because there's been a real push. But I think this time we might actually see a lot of people fall. And don't be scared. I'm not dying on this hill. I put 20% on this, right? But all I know is at some point, we know what they want to do. And that's Georgia Guidestones, 500 million, one world government, technocracy, replace human output with AI and robotics. That's the goal. And if they want to get there, at some point, they need to pull the trigger. And the question is this the trigger or are they going to wait a little bit longer? But since we're leading up to the World Cup and all these other psyops are hitting us and hitting us and hitting us, it definitely looks like they might be pulling the trigger. But who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And nicotine does help. I see people in the chat mentioning that, dude. I can
Oh, that's what
attest
I'm
to that.
talking about.
That's probably what kept me asymptomatic, dude, was the nicotine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I think that it was scorpion venom for COVID in particular that they were messing with. So
Really?
yeah, it was actually a type of scorpion venom that they were messing with in particular for COVID at the Wuhan lab. Yeah, at the Wuhan lab, they were doing that. So very wild.
Yeah. So maybe we'll get into some alien disclosure right now. That seems to be a very popular topic. There was a group, and we'll play this video. Should we play the video first? Yeah, let's play this video first. But there was a group of pastors that met with high-level guys or something like that, and now they're in unison spitting their narrative, right? So let's play this real quick.
Anna Paulina Luna says she wasn't read into this, so this guy's just making it up.
Oh, really? Well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right. Because he's got to have that controlled kind of aspect to the narrative of like aliens are demons. No, wait, no, they're not, right? And this back and forth shit. So yeah, it's very funny because you know he's saying that he got read in by her regime.
Well, all I know is if my pastor was wearing one of those lame shirts with a giant cross embroidered on it, I would walk out the other way.
Absolutely.
Friend that sent me a text message. I was in a meeting, a weekend meeting, preaching Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning. And he said, Perry, can you give me a call? I have some information that has come to my attention. Of course, when a friend of yours does that you know quite well, you have no idea what information they're talking about. And I'm not going to go into great detail, but there were a large number of pastors that had been invited to go to a certain state to hear some men in the United States government and others share with them a concern that they had. And this particular man, and I'll not name him, and then we may end up doing some teachings with him or having an event at his church. He has a great church. But he said, Perry, what they're about to release, from what we're hearing, there's going to be a release concerning aliens and concerning unidentified flying object spacecraft, that some of the people who were in the meeting were telling us as pastors, you need to prepare your people and you need to get ready to answer them for what you're about to hear being released. And some of it has to do with crafts that have been discovered that are not allegedly a part of our planet.
Real quick, what he's explaining is essentially the entire series of the X-Files.
Yeah. No,
you've all heard this before.
And the materials they're made of are not a part of our planet. Very strange reptilian-looking creatures and other things that almost sound like something out of a sci-fi movie or an Orson Welles.
All right, real quick, I want to just play this for, you know who Tony Merkel is?
Yeah, absolutely.
Unfortunately, you know, I used to really like the Confessionals podcast. He has a lot of great guests, and I'm not saying that Tony's bought and sold, but I remember the lead pastor that first came out with this group that was formulated to receive this intelligence. I remember when he went on Tony's show, right? I remember it. And he was preaching a bunch of Zionist stuff, pre-trib rapture, you know, all fallacies in my mind. And something was just not sitting right with me, right? I'm like, something's weird. Why is Tony having him on the show? And then to find out that Tony was brought into this group to roll out this psyop, and whether he knows it or not, he might not know. He might truly believe this. So I'm not putting that on him. But that's why I always say, before I play this, when you promote the psyop, you become the psyop. And does it really matter if you have good intentions or not? No. So let me play this. It kind of gets into what happened, because I think that, what's his name? Tony came after a lot of fire from the internet. Because, you know, anytime.
Which episode is this? Or I mean, what is this about exactly? Which was this, like his most recent one? Oh, sorry, I did a little excerpt from his recent one because he was talking about something similar to what I was talking about my show, and he was talking about how AI might be changing time from the future in reverse, like AI is going back in time and like changing shit online and shit like that, right? Or it's making people look like they're from the future doing things. Like for instance, the time machine, picture that was on that Henry Martinez X account where they posted Cole Allen before that ever happened.
That's weird.
They're trying to say that AI is going back. I was like, doesn't it make more sense that people just change the fucking metadata?
Yeah,
Doesn't it make more sense that somebody just said this happened in 2023, but really it's Elon and his cronies making it look like that? Like, use your fucking heads, people. Like, it makes more sense that nobody's going back in time. AI is not going back in time. But this AI time travel thing is something I'm going to get into here in a week or so, because it's a huge theory that's like being pushed, and I don't think it's real, but it's another thing to try to give you this idea that AI is just an inevitable god, and that it can, it's just all knowing, all seeing. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't really believe in time travel, because if it was possible, then these powers and principalities would time travel back to before Jesus died, and they would not have killed him, and then that would spoil salvation for all of us. So, I don't think you can use it to escape God's judgment or anything like that.
Good point.
I don't think time travel within this dimension lines up with the biblical narrative. If time travel is a real thing, it's when these interdimensional beings come into our world. And the Bible suggests there's a differentiate in time between the earthly realm and the spiritual realm. So essentially, when you're coming into our realm, you are time traveling. But as far as time travel within our dimension, I don't believe it to be true.
It may not have been the confessionals, but the same day you told me it might not be biblical, it was either the confessionals I listened to during the episode I'm telling you about, or somebody else that same day that said an excerpt from the Bible that they tried to decipher as being indications of time travel.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think
just
it's
saying.
possible. I'm just saying.
No, I just think it's funny that they're trying to push the biblical aspect to it, and I don't think that's the case. It's a matter of interpretation, dude.
100%. It's all interpretation. But let's play this real quick for a little bit, and then let's get into the whole alien thing.
Hell yeah.
I find out that he is part of a private group of Christian intelligence operators. And I say
That's just such a vague way to describe this stuff. Private Christian intelligence operatives.
Does he talk about Zionists? Does he ever say Zionist? Is he one to call out Gaza situation? Does he do any of that?
No.
I'm not surprised. I think he's, I don't know. He gives me Zyshill vibes, but what do I know? I don't even listen to him.
Yeah, here he goes.
Say that very specifically and as pure as possible. He is not government. He is not part of an intelligence agency, not NSA, CIA, none of the alphabets. As far as I know, he is part of a private group of Christian intelligence operators. They are operating.
What does that even mean? He's not CIA.
How are they intelligence operators, but they're not in any alphabet groups? What the fuck are you talking about? Oh, so they're the Mormons. You're talking about the Latter-day Saints guys, obviously, because they're the ones that fucking run the intelligence groups from behind the scenes.
Yeah. He's just running cover right now. It's not a good look for the man, Tony. I'm not gonna lie. And I'm not saying that, a lot of times there are puppets that they roll out. They might not even know what they're doing, right? Just think if you're Tony, right? You're getting big. You're getting some more responsibility within the Christian community as far as speaking the supernatural truth, and then a high-level group of people call you in. And let's say you're not necessarily black pill like Tony, and they feed you this stuff. You could really, in your heart, believe you're doing a good thing. Meanwhile, you're promoting the psyop that they want you to promote. I think even Bill Cooper admitted that happened to him, right?
Yeah. Oh, it definitely happened to him. He said.
Yeah, so they do that. So once again, I'm just saying he's definitely trying to run cover for something right here.
Privately on intelligence with disclosure. Their goal was to gather intel and data. And again, this is my understanding.
Yeah, dude, I gotta say, Mark, you're exactly right, dude. His cadence, the way he fucking talks is driving me crazy. I just feel like it's not, I don't know, dude. I don't like, sometimes I feel like the way you can hear it in their voice, the way they talk, their cadence on how they handle disseminating the information. I don't know. It's just weird.
Well, this was definitely rehearsed.
What are you trying to do here, dude? Anyway.
Oh, no, it's rehearsed because I know that conspiracy theorists, that's the one good thing about the internet. when they start trying to roll off psyops, you have a bunch of conspiracy theorists. Even they might have big accounts start poking holes in the narrative. And when people start reading the comments, I feel like they have to address it. And it almost sounds like he's trying to address it and trying not to make it look like it's intelligence operation. But he uses all the terms and you're like, what are you even talking about? It's a group of private intelligence officers. Like, what the hell does that mean?
He's being so careful while he tries to give you info. I'm giving you the scoop, but I'm not really saying anything. It's vagalities, you know? And it's
to gather intel and data on what this disclosure stuff is. I don't know what their opinions were of it when they first started the operation, but as they started gathering intel and data and rubbing shoulders with a lot of people. I am like bottom of the totem pole.
Do you know any of these people? Can you name drop one?
Not him. No,
you know,
protect the secret.
That's why maybe I feel so weird about that. I don't feel qualified to be the person talking about this.
He looks uncomfortable there.
Oh, for sure.
He looks uncomfortable there.
He does.
They gathered a lot of intel and they came to believe that what is happening is deeply spiritual. What people are experiencing is deeply spiritual, and that what the majority of the experiences are when it comes to, let's just say for generic surface level terminology, abductions.
And I also want to make this point,
What?
right?
Yeah, go ahead. I threw me off there.
Yeah, I want to make this point real quick. So they have the mainstream psyop narrative with aliens for the secular general public. But remember, there's a large segment that's a Christian population. And if you don't think they have a specific psyop for them that talks about these beings in terms of spirits, fallen angels, that would make sense to them, I got a bridge in QAnon land to sell you. So understand, just because he's using all the key terms that we've been talking about, this idea that it came from the intelligence service, that he can't tell you who it is, just a private group of people that rub shoulders with the bigwigs. To me, use your discernment here.
Alien abductions is demonic in nature, and there's an element of this UAP phenomenon and entity phenomenon that is fueled by fallen angels and fallen angel technology. There are a lot of opinions that I come to the table with on that, and my opinions may not match their opinions totally. Their opinions may not match mine totally. This connection was not to get anybody to believe in a certain narrative. It was to raise awareness amongst Christian leaders, and I would say I am now one of those, that
So what is he? Okay,
the
so is he
reality of it-
saying that he thinks that it's fallen angel technology and that these are fallen angels? He's saying what everybody else says, but he's taking 10 minutes to say it, right? Is that what's going on? Okay.
And just glossing over the fact where it came from.
Oh, he's plugged
Right.
in. I know it's a limited hangout. He's plugged in. He knows it all. He's one of the leaders. I get it. Yeah. He's like taking 3 minutes to stoke how fucking plugged in he is.
Yeah. And I definitely think there's like a scenario where they could set it up to deceive us, right? So they might have like a pre-fake apocalypse before the real fake apocalypse. There might be these other entities that are coming to attack us that look like reptilian aliens. And then all of a sudden these fallen angels come up to protect us from these bad aliens or whatever you want to call it. But I think they're somehow going to skew, the mainstream media, the mainstream alien psyop into a Christian one. And they're going to deceive us.
Also, if you look at what Raven said, I think from Nephilim Death Squad, I think he's very much onto something with this idea that if it turns out to be a nothing burger, you know what I'm saying? Then that's the best way to get people to kind of write off the idea of fallen angels being connected to this technology. You push the idea that they are, and then when everything gets disclosed and it turns out to not be the case in the mainstream, then now nobody believes that, right? So Raven had a point there. I was like, it's kind of a good point. Like, It's a good way to run game with people to get them to go away from this theory, right?
Yeah. So
yeah.
just a quick question. They released the first part of the disclosure files. Do you want to pull this up here?
One more time. Say that
Did you
again.
want to pull this up here?
What?
Your thing?
Yeah, I do have something to pull up. Yeah, if you're ready.
Yeah.
I was just hanging out on it.
Oh, you were real quick.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Oh, so they released the first part of the documents for disclosure today. Did you have
I've
a
got
chance
some stuff.
to
I've
go
got
over
stuff
it?
for that. So before we get to that, can I just show you this Jay Dyer post? It was about what you just were talking about here. I pulled it up because of that. And then we'll move on to the, I've got a couple. Yeah, I read some of the documents. They're very underwhelming.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is Jay Dyer posted this. Apparently he said this 10 years ago. He read this in a book talking about the UFO phenomenon and demonic activity, right? Fundamentalist Christians, he pointed out, did the same thing when they automatically attributed all UFO phenomenon to demonic activity. So again, this is being used as a tactic of warfare for manipulating Christians, I think. And it gets explained in this book. So 1960, a Brookings Institute study commissioned by NASA stated that the effect of discovery of extraterrestrial life on fundamentalists of the religious traditions would be electrifying. It would have potentially far-reaching consequences. See, this is the externalization of the hierarchy. And people keep saying, why are they trying to weaponize Christians? Why are they talking about the 3 Abrahamic faiths? Why are they saying that, this alien disclosure is only going to mess with Christians? Well, I think I have the answer to that. Christianity is the only one that venerates Jesus Christ as God incarnate. And so this gets rid of that. He becomes another ascended master. He takes an office that anybody could achieve through the perfection of their soul, because that's what all the other religions for the most part teach. And they believe he was just a prophet or an ascended master. So do the Theosophists, the Freemasons, and of course, this new age kind of alien aspect to it's just going to be like, he was just one of them, right?
Yeah, I'm with you, because I think the end game is Mystery Babylon, right? This new new age religion. I think Christian Gnosticism, Theosophy is just a precursor to that. And they're going to blame the God of the Bible when all this goes down. Like after this giant war, whenever it happens, we don't know how long this is going to take, but I think there's going to be a giant war. And there's a reason it's being set up as a holy war, because they're going to use political Zionism to collapse the entire thing. And the remaining people there, they're going to then blame the God of the Bible. They're going to blame Christians, Muslims, and Jews for all this stuff that went down, so they can then usher in this Mystery Babylon religion, which would incorporate aliens. And I think the aliens might come back, tell us they created us. Who knows what they're going to do? But
exactly. Well, it says it right here, dude. This is what I'm trying to say. Like, this is it, dude. It says Arthur C. Clarke felt that the doctrine of incarnation, in particular, was a ticking time bomb for all Christianity. As one psychologist of the UFO community observed, the long battle against the UFO cover-up was not really about the public's right to know as much as it was about the public's right to not know. Why? Because the idea of incarnation itself would later have to come under review. And as one investigator pointed out, obviously they're waiting till the right time to bring this into review, till they get the most amount of Christians to have the worst kind of idea of faith, etc. The New Age religions kind of permeated everything. So one investigator pointed out that the whole Christian idea of God's plan of salvation would be severely problematized because of this idea of incarnation, UFOs, because they are going to tell us that these UFOs, these aliens, they made us, they created us, they're the master race. So we can be like them. We can become just like them, like gods, right?
Well, that's what they did in the Garden of Eden, right?
Exactly, dude. That's what we're doing here again. It's the Nephilim. So it's the same thing, dude, just being done again. But it's going to be done with some new age technology, a little bit of, this idea of modernity, where we believe in more material ideas of things and not just some religious idea of God being the ruler of the heavens, right? We're moving away from that because of the culture programming. And so it's fertile ground for this.
Hey, there's a passage of the Bible, and I might be butchering this, but what was will be again. There's nothing new under the sun. Understand, everything that we're watching right now, they've already done before. It's just being repackaged, put a new bow on it, maybe with this new type of technology. But, Get ready.
Exactly. And so it says here, the Christian religion would be particularly compromised by the discovery of extraterrestrial life, since it makes so much of the incarnation as an historical event and of the knowledge of the good news of Jesus Christ's passion, ascension, and atonement as the sine qua non of salvation. I didn't say that right, probably.
Real quick, what book is this called? Do you know?
You know,
Someone
let me see
asked.
here. Arthur C. Clarke. Here's Arthur C. Clarke and NASA and Brookings Institute admitting the alien psyop is to destroy Christianity. I don't know what book this is. Oh, ufology, God talk, and theology. Look that up. The lore of the. I don't know what that says. It's the best we could do is look up at the top of the book here. And nobody in the comments says what this is. Here it is. The Lore of the Edge by Brenda Denzler. Here, I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this into the chat.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Jay
listen,
Dyer's got some bangers. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, he does work for an intelligence operation, but I'll
Sure
let that
does.
pass. That's what I'm saying. I don't trust.
I don't either, but dude, sometimes
that
you can
doesn't
get
mean
some
they don't have good
reference
stuff.
work. You
They
can
have
get good
good
reference
stuff.
work from
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
And
Please
if you're
join the
on,
chat.
real quick, if you're on Instagram, check me out on YouTube. Give me a follow, and that way you can comment more on the chat. It's easier for me to take your questions because they upload to StreamYard and I can see them as they're coming. On Instagram, I have to go over and look at them, and I still don't know how to scroll up that thing. So it's harder for me to get to your questions if you have any. So jump over to YouTube, give me a like and a subscribe, and join the chat.
Hell yeah. Join that shit. Get in here. All right, so 6G. Oh wait, what the fuck? I'm reading my own tag, my own handle. So anyway, I posted a snippet from this UFO disclosure documents. I thought this one was interesting. 2023. Talks about observing orbs launching other orbs at a distance, and then they observed a large stationary glowing orb at close estimated range, which was pursuing a large phenomenon near the ground, and then observing a large transparent phenomenon that's akin to a translucent kite, although there is no technical data directly associated with this report. So we got little reports like this. That's mostly like,
that's what came out.
Yeah, it's like little excerpts like this. You'll get some photos here. We'll go look at the other one. I just said it was underwhelming, but yeah, so it's war.gov/UFO. Let's look at it.
Yeah, the timing is really interesting too with this whole Christian pastor thing and the first release of the quote unquote alien files. Like right before it happened, you have this push by these huge Christian pastors within the evangelical realm with on the internet. And it's definitely a coordinated thing.
Look at that. It looks like a fucking helicopter, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, look at that. What are we talking about here, dude?
But have you seen the videos?
Picture and it looks like it's got rotors on the top. What are we doing, dude? It looks like a Apache helicopter, dude. What the fuck?
Have you ever seen?
Underwhelming.
Yeah, but I'll tell you one thing. I got actually some good video of quote unquote UFOs or whatever.
I believe you, yeah. But you're over on the coast of California. You're on the coast of California, San Diego, where they literally have an Air Force base and a Navy base. So it's
that's where Air Force. That's where what's it called? Not Air Force One, but Space Force is located 30 minutes away from me.
Oh, so I wonder why you saw UFOs. Because again, dude, none of this proves that this is from another world. None of this proves that this is like anything really crazy. Okay, you know, I do have something else I want to show. Yeah, go ahead.
It could be reverse engineered. That's definitely a possibility. I don't know, but then again,
reverse engineered through channeling, I think, in occult magic. And I think we can prove this, by the way, because I've been doing research. You know, I didn't know which way this episode was going to take, so it's kind of funny. I've been researching all these things so much that it really doesn't matter. So Kenneth Arnold, he wrote a book. Let me see if I can find this book he wrote. Kenneth Arnold. Jack Parsons. He wrote a book about Jack Parsons. Do you know who Kenneth Arnold is?
No, but I do know Jack Parsons did sex magic to usher in the whore of Babylon.
He sure did. And you know what's really funny though? Kenneth Arnold was name dropped on Joe Rogan's new episode with Bassett, right? And so I've actually got a couple of little snippets of that episode we could pull up too if you wanted to that has something to do with this stuff. Because the whole episode was about like UFO disclosure, right? So he talks about Kenneth Arnold. This was the first man to ever see a UFO, right? 1947. flying saucer, 9 objects flying in a V formation over Washington's Mount Rainier. A civilian pilot, Kenneth Arnold, reported seeing. So Kenneth Anger, do you know who that is?
I've heard that name. I'm sure if you describe him real quick, I'll know exactly who he is.
He was a contemporary of Aleister Crowley. He's a director.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah. He died in May 2023. It's very interesting. That's the year that those orbs were happening. In 2023 was whenever we had a lot of the drones and orb stuff going on. Kenneth Anger made the movie with Aleister Crowley. And I want to say it was called Lucifer Rising.
Oh, great.
Let me see.
Because
here.
that's what you would do, is make a movie called Lucifer Rising.
Yeah, and in the movie, yeah, it's called Lucifer Rising. Yeah, I got it right. Look at that. And in the movie, let me see if I can find the pyramid.
Wait, who is this real quick? Who is this?
This is Kenneth Anger with Aleister Crowley, dude. Dude, you can't make this shit up. So let's see if we can find the movie, the pyramid scene in the movie, okay? So there's a pyramid scene in this movie. Okay, there's part of it. And they say in the movie that there's like a UFO kind of thing above. Here it is. Here it is, dude. Look at that. You see that? You see that UFO above the Sphinx?
There you go.
Dude, so they said that the gods of old would come back as these UFOs. And that was kind of the point of the movie, by the way. And it was called Lucifer Rising, obviously, for a reason, right? And so they're telling us UFOs are going to be the new gods. The new god, like the old gods are going to come back as UFOs. The ancient aliens, right? The Anunnaki theory, right? Has now been convoluted. Instead of it being Nephilims, it's now really just aliens that came down and they mated with us or genetically engineered us into being humans, right?
Mm.
So now that we know that, Kenneth Arnold, I thought sounded very similar to Kenneth Anger. I was like, what a fucking similar name to have be the person to put this out on the scene. I mean, think about it, right?
Mm.
So anyway, he writes a book. It's called UFOs, Occultism, and Multiple Realities. The Rocketeer That Tried to Escape the Men in Black. The Strange Case of John Jack Parsons. So Kenneth Anger got obsessed with Jack Parsons. And if I can find this book here, maybe I got to send it the overview to this book because it's so interesting. We got to read it because it's everything we talk about. Now, just to give a breakdown, the Babylon workings, which you just talked about, was them doing the Moonchild ritual, okay? And the Moonchild ritual is something that you can find in a book. Sorry.
Also with L. Ron Hubbard, who created Scientology. I guess that guy was supposedly watching the Godfather Martin Rockery do sex magic and it was taking notes. Could you imagine being that guy?
Exactly. Yes.
Taking notes. Oh, excuse me. Okay.
He literally was involved with mind control. This is where mind control, Satanism, ufology all come together right here in 1947, 1946. Whenever you had this because then after this, of course, you have the growth of MK Ultra, rocketry, and Satanism. And then out of that, you had Aquino, who was a follower of Crowley, and all these different people like the Process Church and Charles Manson, who's obviously involved with MK Ultra and Satanism. So then you start to see it kind of all over and percolate, right? This is kind of the first iteration of that. So The Moonchild is 1917 occult novel by Aleister Crowley, and it's centered on a magical war between white and black magicians attempting to influence the birth of a moonchild, a soul brought into a human body via a ritual. It explores high-level ceremonial magic, esoteric practices, and the battle between light and dark. People don't know how to tell this story properly, okay?
Well, can I say one thing real quick?
Please.
What you just read, the first thing that came up to me, what came into my mind was the entire media.
Right.
These white versus black wizards, just messing with their minds, Good, bad. Pick a team.
Look at this. The story follows Lisa La Giuffria. Super close to Giuffre, like Virginia Giuffre, if you ask me. So I thought that was interesting because, it's similar things. But okay, so Trump's born 3 months after this Babylon workings that Jack Parsons does, okay? And now we're looking right here that the Moonchild, which is what they did with the Babylon workings, is to bring a soul into a human body via a ritual. Okay, so a lot of people think that the woman that they impregnated ended up having the Moonchild. I don't think that's the case. I'm one of the few that really doesn't think that. I don't think that the Moonchild had to be into the woman that they were manifesting it into necessarily. I know that sounds kind of wild or weird, but I think that can be true, especially whenever you have other people who are into the occult groups like Trump. But anyway, so I just want to show you, to go along with this, the book that Kenneth Arnold wrote, which details this Moonchild situation, and it relates right into UFOs. Point being, Joe Rogan keeps connecting, and a lot of people connect the fact that the nuclear technological tests that we did are the reason why ufology started happening. Like all of a sudden we started, we had Roswell, we had UFO sightings, all after these nuclear Trinity tests, right? But he connects it not to the Trinity test, but to Jack Parsons' Babylon workings, because Aleister Crowley actually thought Jack Parsons was an idiot. he like worked with him and gave him ritual knowledge and everything else, but he warned him. He said, do not do this Babylon workings. You're not good enough to do it, pretty much. And so Jack Parsons did this ritual and he left the portal open. And then after that, we had ufology sightings and everything else. So to your point, could it be reverse engineered, or could it be that they really did rip open some kind of fabric between this world and the astral world, which could be where the fallen reside, obviously, or these entities that they try to manifest. So I think it all could be related in a weird way.
Well, it's interesting, and I tell this story all the time, but it goes along with what you're saying. So what's his name? Seymour Cray, the godfather of modern supercomputing, who's basically his work took the big, huge computers, IBM computers that used to take up whole, office spaces, stuff like that. And his, mathematical work, engineering work made him into the personal computer that we have today. And he's quoted in saying that whenever there was a problem that he could not solve, he had a tunnel underneath his house and he'd start digging and digging and digging. And then the elves would come up and give him the answer. So I wonder how much of this whole technological revolution, to your point, was actually channeled from the ether, similar to the way a songwriter gets a song, or a musician gets a chord, or how we receive information. Or how we get information from the Holy Spirit. I just think when it comes to all the technology stuff, they were from nefarious entities.
I agree. And they're tapping into the muse, they call it, right? And, people may say, like, why do you care about these crazy wackos, right? Well, here's the thing. All the stuff that they believed in seems to be like the mainstream, like what they're trying to push onto being everybody's belief system. For instance, have you heard of the multiverse?
Yes.
Well, according to Jack Parsons,
I don't think it's real.
You're right. Well, in a famous, actually, according to this psychologist, analyzes perception of reality and pointed out that we live in two different mental worlds. According to him, there are several, probably one infinite number of orders of reality, and he calls them sub-universes. The human mind conceives all sub-worlds more or less disconnectedly. So this is like literally the idea of like manifesting your own realities, right? These realities are experienced as mental sub-universe and can be shared by more than one person. So he kind of gets into Jack Parsons and how he was tapping into this other mental universe, right? And so he gets into living in multiple realities, the physical world and the paranormal one was where Jack Parsons lived. So he had, so he was obviously really interested in some crazy shit. And so a few months before Aleister Crowley's death, just prior to the wave of unexplained aerial phenomenon we call the Great Flying Saucer Flap of 1952, in the spring of 1946, we had the Babylon workings done with Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard. And the ritual is based on the ideas of Crowley, his description of similar ritual in that Moonchild book I showed you. And while they're performing this ritual, Parsons opened a door or a gate and something flew into this world. And the assumption behind is that Crowley first made contact back in 1917 through the Alamantra ritual, or Amalantra ritual, where he obviously talked to Lamb. And that's that entity that we get the grays from, right?
Yeah.
So later, Jack Parsons practiced a similar ritual, the Babylon ritual, the Babylon workings. Elizabeth Cameron and L. Ron Hubbard, they all did this ritual, reopened the portal, and Crowley sealed years before, but this time Parsons created a bigger fracture in time-space, and the Babylon ritual is patterned after. Well, why did they repeat this? Anyway, however, the latter portal could not be sealed due to Parsons' inexperience and his lack of knowledge or carelessness. As a result, just after Parsons practiced the Babylon ritual, Kenneth Arnold made the first widely reported UFO sighting of 9 silver disc-like craft in Washington state, June 24th, 1947. That's about 1 year to the date after Trump was born. So UFOs were bursting upon the scene, and the Roswell UFO suddenly crashed. This book gets into all that. Very crazy. So I highly recommend just checking out this book. It's written by, obviously he's either involved or he's a useful idiot, but either way, it pushes that original narrative that's now resurfacing today through people like Candace Owens and people like that, where they'll tell you pieces of the Babylon workings, but they're not actually explaining in detail like we are, like what it all really permeates into. So
yeah, I mean, I don't trust any of those people. When it comes to controlled opposition, it's not what they say. That's simple. It's what they don't say. It's where their blind spots are. And all of these people have humongous blind spots. And trust me, I get it. The last thing people want to look into is who they identify as. Trust me, I had to deal with that. Everybody has to deal with that if they're really in search for the truth. So when I see these people like, Candace or Nick Fuentes or, Tucker Carlson, expose Zionism as a Babylonian pedo cult, but then they're quiet about the Vatican. You go, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Dude, I can show you a video of I can show you a video right now of Tucker Carlson actually defending a Mormon who is like in trouble for like child problem.
Oh, really? He is. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Well, once again,
he's plugged in.
What I'm saying is it all lines up with this idea of manufacturing prophecy, right? They want you to blame, Israel. And listen, this is, we talk about this all the time, right? I have a podcast. You have a podcast. We talk about the Zio cartel agenda, but they want to place everything on that because in their minds, right, at least within their interpretation of prophecy, we'll have to see if it's real or not. We definitely know they're trying to make it happen. They want the nations to turn on them. That's why they're doing everything they're doing. I joke, but Mossad, their unofficial position is through deception, we wage war. Well, they forget how to do it. You think you're totally smart. You think you became a conspiracy theorist on your own. I didn't. You didn't. That's all QAnon. I mean, if you're newer to the game, right? Yeah. And QAnon's intelligence operation. So these people are wanting to expose themselves. And what they want you to think is that it's just Israel. It's just the Jews. It's Jews. So they roll out people like Dan Bilzerian. Don't even get me started on that guy. And maybe we can get into that. But they give you your heroes. And right now they're just, it's one big magic trick.
Oh, yeah. It really is. And, I tried to explain that to somebody today, like with the whole Massey connection with Teal and JD Vance. And Massey's like this guy. He's like the only guy we have in Congress. He's the only guy we have in the government that's actually fighting for Americans. Which, to be honest, a lot of the policies he's trying to fight for, I do agree with.
Yeah.
But there's also the other aspect to him of this understanding that, these guys will do everything they need to do to prove themselves. But then you look at who they're connected to, and that shows to matter. It shows to matter later when they take office. It shows to matter later that Trump was friends with Netanyahu when he was a kid because his dad was friends with Netanyahu's dad. It shows to matter later that these things come out and, those connections I thought I saw are actually an important aspect to this, even though he did everything he needed to do to win my trust, right?
Yeah, I think I think Massey is just like our generation of Rand Paul. And people aren't going to want to hear this, but listen, what did Rand Paul in Congress, as long as he was, did he do anything to stop the agenda? No.
No, and if I may
say,
Thomas Massey comes out and he's being pushed ahead right while they're sitting here saying that Rand Paul is not who he used to be and his son is not who his dad is. So they're already shoving them away to make sure that you run to the one guy that they're giving you as a savior.
Yeah, but because what they want, and I truly believe this, and this goes to the psychological warfare, right? Michael Aquino, Satanists, all this type of stuff. The last thing they want is for people to lose faith in their system.
Right.
That's because you're no longer programmable, right? They can no longer conduct their mental warfare against you and play you like a video game once you lose faith in the system. So they roll out these white knights, these heroes, if you will. And whether Massey wanted to or didn't want to, just like Ron Paul, There's no way he was ever going to change anything about the agenda. But you get the whole segment of the population that's about to turn away from politics for good. Now go up. Let's get back into it. Let's get back into it. Let's vote. Let's vote. Let's just vote harder. That's all we got to do. And I think it's all one big mental game so they can then roll off their psychological warfare on us. Because once you totally pull out and you realize that it's all fake and lame, I mean, the minute you do that is when you can start focusing on what's real. And to me, I think we should be focusing on, the Great Commission in whatever way that is for you, right? We all have different gifts. They're different aspects of the body of Christ. Not everybody has to be on a megaphone screaming gospel. If your thing is prayers, if your thing is caring for people, if your thing is charity, all do it with the humility and love and tell people why we're doing this, right? So I think that's what we're supposed to do. So they just want us to just have faith in the system. It doesn't matter who it is. They don't care. Just have faith in it because they control every single puppet within that system.
Yeah, absolutely. This one, just to point out another thing that this one here, might be actually one that gets a lot of people. This one might get a lot of people.
What?
This is a 1972 photo of the UAP Apollo 17, and they are clearly on the moon, right? Allegedly. And there's 3 dots.
There you go.
So this one will probably do it for a lot of people. They're gonna be like, dude, 1972, how the fuck did they fake it in 1972? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, did they go? Did they use different? Because I'm under the impression that they had to have used different technology if they went to the moon. So whatever technology they said they went to, like, I think, people usually argue over, we went, we didn't go. Or how about we went, but we didn't go with the technology that they sell us that they had. They may have used some of these crafts that we're just now finding out about.
Yeah.
They clearly had them. If we take the idea that they did have this technology in the 47s and 46 era, right? Because, I'm not really in the camp that I believe that these are extraterrestrials coming into our world. I don't know if I'm necessarily in the camp that these were interdimensional beings flying UFOs into our world. I believe that the orbs may be an aspect to that. I believe that some of those things might be an aspect to that. But I also think that all this could be done through science.
Yeah.
If it could be done through science in this material realm, then why am I supposed to sit here and believe that it's some supernatural thing? And so if they had the capability in 1946 to fly flying saucers in ways we can't even do today, then why the hell in 1972 wouldn't they be able to go to space with the moon landing, allegedly, and take a picture? I'm just saying, just a thought.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll have to see. I just want to know how they forgot to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to know how
because they can't disclose how they actually did it. That's what I think. Because they really did it with other tech, if they did it at all, and they can't disclose that because then that would out them. That's why Joe Rogan's calling for amnesty, and all these people like the Age of Disclosure documentary is calling for amnesty, so that way all this lying and stealing of the money and hiding of secrets can be thrown out and they won't get in trouble for it. Then they'll tell you that we have this tech. They may not say that we went to the moon with it right away, but they will eventually.
Yeah.
I almost guarantee that this is the case, but I'm obviously just a human man who's just trying to extrapolate.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with the alien stuff. Anything on that, or do you want to get on to a new subject that we can talk about?
No, I got about 15 left, and then I'll take a little intermission before I go on Tim's podcast on the 6th Century. So we should talk about the what you kind of touched on a minute ago, which is the I don't know what you would call it, the destabilization of this America First crowd. Like,
I'll play right now. I'll pull this up right now. I thought this was, and by the way, it's all BS, right here.
You're gonna pull it up.
Yeah. Okay. So right now, let me pull this up real quick. Remove. There's a lot of beef going on between Dan Bilzerian and Nick Fuentes. Have you been paying attention to this?
Oh, absolutely.
So Dan Bilzerian, as you know, he's very anti-Israel and he's anti-Jewish, big time. And he comes out, and that's what he's running on, right? Jewish supremacy. He's an anti-Zionist, against AIPAC control. And he says a lot of things that are true. But ultimately, I think he's definitely a psyop when you look into who his father was, how he made his meteoric rise on Instagram, pretty much peddling smut to the entire population, right?
Look into his father if you haven't.
Look into his father. But this is what he says right here. I think Nick Fuentes is a Fed. constant division, endless infighting, defending Epstein when attacking a Christian man only to endorse Jewish Democrat women after saying the left wants us dead. The contradictions never end. And that really pissed off Nick. But I just want to read Greg Reese's post real quick because I love this one. And I agree with him. Greg Reese for the win here. Anyone running for political office is either a Fed, grifter, or idiot. And I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. And he's right. Like, and that's what we're being posed with. Is it, do you want the Zionists, right? And clearly not. And Randy Fine, you know, it just makes you want to go, ugh, when you see this guy, right?
Yeah.
But is he is Dan Bilzerian really the answer?
No, man, it's the illusion of choice, dude.
Is
Because
Dan
again,
Bilzerian, look at that.
remember what I told you about Mo Mohammed, Truth Teller, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he had on Dan Bilzerian in the X Spaces. And Truth Teller's a fake white Christian who lives in Canada, who's acting like he's LARPing as a American white Christian, when in reality he's like a Muslim from Canada who is compromised, and he's pushing anti-Jew, anti-Zionist things. But here's the thing, dude, and I don't know how deep this goes yet, but I'm just kind of starting to really figure this out. We have this illusion of choice where one side are Muslims funding anti-Zionist, anti-Jewish hate for the right-wing America First crowd, and then you have the, you know, the obvious Zionist regime who's pushing the other side. Look at this. Can you pull this up real quick?
Yeah. Let me go quick, remove, pull it up.
So Hassan Shibli is the leader of CAIR, C-A-I-R, in Florida. They fund the political candidates, okay? He is funding Fishback, James Fishback in Florida, who's a Jewish, you know, anti-Zionist, right? Jewish anti-Zionist.
Real quick, do you know he was still pushing QAnon up until 2 weeks ago? James Fishback.
There you go. Yeah. And then so yeah, again, it's that same group. But by the way, QAnon that was created by the fucking same MAGA Zionist regime that, so anyway, so then you have Dan Bilzerian that's getting funded by this guy. So it's the illusion of choice. You have Muslims funding the anti-Jewish whatever, but then these Muslims, I don't even know if they're Muslim. They could be like the, you know, secret, who knows? I don't even know, dude. These guys are running games. So my point is, we either have a choice of Noahide law or Sharia law, is what I can tell, from what I can tell. That's kind of what seems to be coming.
Yeah. And I'll tell you one thing. I think I have a little different take on the Noahide laws than most people. Because what's the end game, right? Because a lot of people are like, oh, we got to be worried about the Noahide laws. They're coming. And, you know, back in the 90s, they signed some paperwork that kind of was the stepping stone to get it going. But once again, what is the end game? The end game is not the God of the Bible, which the Noahide laws claim to represent. The end game is Mystery Babylon. So I definitely could see them using this Noahide laws as a magic trick to manufacture consent of having the people turn against them. And you're kind of seeing that right now, like a little precursor. I think there's a young child in Florida that was making some jokes, or she was talking bad about the Zionist regime or something like that. And she was actually arrested, right? So to think that the American people are going to sit by idly, and maybe they are, we are so docile. I mean, what's it going to take? But while these Noahide laws actually get rolled out without them rebelling, I don't think it's going to happen, right? And that's just going to, you know, percolate all this resentment towards Israel, all this resentment towards Jews, which, once again, if you know what the goal of Zionism is, right? And let's just go back to the godfather of modern Zionism, Theodore Herzl. This is his quote in his journal, right? He goes, the anti-Semite will be our best friend. The anti-Semitic nations will be our greatest allies, because he knows that this is a tool to make your average Jewish person who's not part of the cabal, not doing anything, who's just trying to live their life, start to feel unsafe, right? And if they start to feel unsafe and they want to go home, I shouldn't say home, but if they want to go to Israel because they feel they're going to be safe there, guess what? That's exactly what the Zionists want.
Yep.
That's exactly what the Zionists want. So when you got Dan Bilzerian talking about how he wants to call for the full destruction of Israel, and it's all Jews. I heard him say it's all Jews.
Yep.
Ian Carroll.
Jewish supremacy problem. He said Zionism is only an aspect of the Jewish supremacy problem to get them to, like kind of, I keep wanting to say capitulate, but essentially, you know, send you over that way, you know, send you away from the Jewish problem is what he's saying.
Yeah. So they're going to scapegoat the Jews right now, and that's what they want to manufacture this prophecy. Once I read that about the godfather of Zionism, They want anti-Semitic nations. They want anti-Semites. And once again, you are not an anti-Semite for criticizing Israel and the actions of their governments and the people that control it at all. But when you start saying, which Dan Bilzerian said, it's all Jews, or I want to go there and destroy it off the map. What do you think your average Jewish person in America is thinking right now? And I know a few. So what do you think they're thinking? Oh my God, I've never seen America like this. I feel unsafe here. I did nothing wrong. Well, I did nothing wrong.
I can't believe it. Yeah.
I can't believe it because that's what the architect of the whole thing wants.
Yep. Well, here, I want to show you this while we're talking about this, because you're exactly right, dude. They talk about the two brothers, right? And they always refer to, pardon me, America and Israel as brothers. Have you noticed that?
Who does?
Like you'll hear people like Zionists will refer to, like, you know, we're the big brother of Israel. You know, they're our little brother.
Yeah.
Netanyahu's called us the big brother, and he's called him the little brother. Well, that's because of this story here, which is the idea of Messiah ben David and Messiah ben Joseph, right? And so there's this suffering servant, which is Ben David, and he's the Messiah son of Joseph, which would be Trump. He's associated with the suffering role, embodying a Messiah son of Joseph concept that faces immense hardships and rejections, but he leads wars to go and open up. He's a war fighter to go and open up the you know, kind of lay fertile ground for the real Messiah Ben Joseph to come in and build the temple.
That's crazy.
That's exactly what I think they're trying to make it. At least optically, they're trying to make that a thing, right?
And which is why I say just reject it all, right? Yeah. You got to understand this. The smartest thing I ever did was realizing I'm not in control of anything. And ultimately, all these bad things that we're seeing, I know this is hard to wrap your head around, but this is all part of God's great divine plan. Go read the book of Job, right? Anytime these demons or anytime these fallen angels want to do something on earth, there's a set of parameters, a set of rules. I mean, essentially, in the book of Job, they kind of have to get the okay from God, and God allows it to happen. So clearly all this stuff is happening. God is allowing it to happen.
He allows everything to happen. That's something that's made very clear.
Yeah.
You know?
So it's not our job to stop this. I know people might get mad at me. There's nowhere in scripture does it say humanity comes together being led by Tucker Carlson to overthrow the beast system. In fact, it says exactly the opposite. Read Daniel 8. It says the Prince of Peace, and specifically a non-human force. Read Revelations. Jesus comes down on a white horse. Even if we're in Satan's short season, right? I believe it's the Archangel Michael that comes and throws Satan in the pit of fire. So in nowhere does it say that we get together to overthrow the government. What does the Bible say? Jesus says, pay to Caesar what is Caesar's, pay to God's what is God's. We need to be free within Caesar's government so we can carry out what the Great Commission is. And that's bringing people into the fold, right? And I'm talking real spiritual battle. People talk about spiritual battle. They want to jack our loosh. This is not kinda. But the spiritual war, which we really should be focusing on and not these particular battles against us, is for salvation, period. And everything we're seeing is a microcosm or a manifestation from the spiritual realm in this spiritual war. And I'm telling you, God Most High, Jesus our Messiah, right, who God gave full authority to judge us, are watching, right? They're watching. Who's going to pick the world? Who's going to go the way of the world? And by the way, who's the prince of this world? Satan. Or who's going to pick God? Who's going to pick to love our neighbor like we love ourselves? Who's going to pick the Great Commission in whatever way that appears in front of your life about spreading the gospel? Because the gospel is what leads to salvation. All this stuff that these people are trying to fight in this earthly realm, I'm going to let you know, one, you're not going to stop anything. But two, God doesn't care about that. I really believe that. God, I mean, it breaks his heart to a certain extent, but what he cares more about is bringing people into the fold. So I think that's where we should put our energy.
Oh, absolutely. It's again, what you said about the macrocosm, you know what I mean? I mean, you have to have that struggle to bring them to God, and God understands that. And they try to do the same thing, some miniature version of that, where they sacrifice to get the manifestation they want. They're like, well, we can do the same thing that God does. We're going to start sacrificing shit so we can make some shit happen. It's like, you're totally misinterpreting what God does, right? But that's kind of an aspect to what they do. It's this idea of like, God kind of sacrifices, lets things be sacrificed so that way it could bring you to him. Well, they seem to do the same thing, you know, in a weird way, trying to be like God. We're going to sacrifice something in my will so I can make something happen in my will because I'm God. That's what they do all the time. And so, yeah, to your point, it's a macro micro thing. And yeah, don't be fooled. Don't be swept up.
Don't be fooled. Well, we're closing soon. You got to get on to another live.
Yeah,
How much time you got, or how do you want to close this?
Yeah, I'll be headed over there about 15 minutes. So yeah, I'll probably take a quick little break. I appreciate it, dude. And I'll be having you on anytime, dude. If you want to do a little part 2, I'll be going live tomorrow at 8, kind of getting into the hantavirus and the tick aspect too. I've got a lot more stuff on that, so we'll probably be doing a deep dive on that tomorrow. So if you feel like joining, let me know. But otherwise, anytime, dude, come back on. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Everybody enjoys when you come on. So yeah, let's leave it at that.
Shout out the chat. Shout out everybody. Yeah, 6G Agenda everywhere. You know where to find me. We keep it easy. And yeah, we're going hard on the socials. Go give us a live. And I will try to stream on Tim's show. I'm not entirely sure if that will be an option, but I will definitely try to.
Yeah, I'm going to address some questions. So if you need to bounce at any time, just
awesome. Hey, shout out Straight Bible, man. Yeah,
I know. You know, let me tell you something. Other than when the Nephilim Death Squad have me on, Straight Bible is my favorite part of that podcast.
Yeah, they're awesome.
I really like it when they pulled it, when you guys formed that together. I love the whole group there, but you know, he gets it, right? This is a spiritual war. The gospel is how you fight it. The only way how you fight it.
Yeah, it really is, dude.
You know.
Hey, thank you for a little white pill to my crazy black pill. But, I definitely need it, dude, all the time. So, hey, man, I love you, dog, and shout out to everybody. And yeah, I'll see you later. Thanks for having me.
Sounds good, sir.
See you.
See you. All right, let's look at some questions that we have here. We've been doing this for an hour and 36 minutes. I'd probably go another 25 minutes or so. Maybe we can pull up some other things and talk about the influencer industry. Oh, that's what I want to do. So we had some topics, but as you know, I like to talk about these whack-ass influencers. So let's see what we got here, right? So back to this whole Dan Bilzerian thing. So, you know, Nick Fuentes got really pissed off, you know, Catboy Nick Fuentes. And isn't that funny? Right now, we have to choose, at least within Bilzerian's congressional race, between Randy Fine, which, by the way, Bilzerian has no chance of beating Randy Fine, I believe, right? There's a reason why Randy Fine got elected, because his base are a bunch of Zionists. So they're not going to, you know, that specific part of Florida is 100% behind this. But this is just more fake drama. But let's look at Nick Fuentes said right here for being called the Fed. And I actually agree with this.
Twitter,
here we go.
Dan Bilzerian today he says on Twitter, first he's telling us that the left is trying to kill right-wingers. Now he says to vote for the Democrat in Ohio. It's too contradictory. And it's like, Dan, I know you're not that smart, but it's really not that complicated. I mean, it really boils down to that. This is why they call us Goyim. Like, sorry, this is why they call us Goyim. I used to think low IQ anti-Semitism is just something that they said. I was wrong. Okay? I was wrong. Low IQ anti-Semitism is real.
Yeah, I agree with them. I mean, you know, those people that, it's the Jews, Hitler good, Jew. And like I said, when you know what the godfather of modern Zionism says, right? This is his words, not mine. When you know that, you can see whether they know it or not are playing right into the hands of the Zionists. And if you oppose that, why are you helping them play into the hands of the Zionists? And, you know, Tucker will always talk about how they're trying to build the third temple, which we talked about way before Tucker or the CIA told Tucker he could talk about that. But where he talks about the third temple, but he leaves it at that. What he doesn't tell you is that there's a great war, according to their interpretation of Ezekiel 38, where the nations turn on Israel. And that's exactly what he's fomenting, right? He is starting to create that rift. He's creating a geopolitical shift in alliances between the Christian West, or this is what he's attempting to do, but he's just a podcaster. He's just a podcaster. But he's trying to reshape global alliances between the Christian West, and I don't even know if you'd call the West Christian, and the Muslim East, when you understand how these principalities and powers work and worldly governors. But anyways, you know, together, but in opposition of who? Israel. And once again, this lines up with exactly what Ezekiel 38 and 39, well, at least their interpretation talks about.
It's Dan Bilzerian. You know it. I know it. Pretty much the whole world knows it. There is such a thing as low IQ anti-Semitism. We have been seeing it. It has been out of control. It has been running rampant. And what do I mean by that? It's these people that all they know how to say is, it's the fucking Jews. That's all. It's like they're just pressing a button. They can't tell you anything about it. There's no depth. There's no complexity. There's no even real...
And by the way, I think Nick is a cat boy, you know, a lover. He's definitely connected to intelligence. You know, one funny thing about Nick Fuentes is, you know, he showed up, you know, at the Unite the Right thing, you know, that at, where is it? Charleston, Virginia, during Trump, where the white neo-Nazis come. We find out that the what's it called? Southern Poverty Law Center is funding the whole thing. And he shows up there. Where did Nick Fuentes also show up? What? J6. And what was he doing? Yelling into the microphone. Go inside the building. Take it down. This is yours. And guess what? He didn't go to jail. And now he's also being represented by this guy named Norman Pattis, who also represents Alex Jones, who also represents the Proud Boys, the CIA adjacent lawyer who once said he actually tried out for the CIA. He was interviewed, offered a salary and everything, and then he left and then was never given that. But do you think he really has no connections to intelligence? This lawyer that, by the way, was Candace Owens' lawyer when she was 15 years old in Sanford, Connecticut. You know, yeah, it's all a joke. And this is just to distract us, but also it's part of the magic trick.
Understanding, they don't know anything about anything. That's all they... Maybe Hitler is a good guy. A Holocaust joke. It's a fucking Jews. Hey, retard, it's a fucking Jew. I know.
Yeah, and that's what it's come down to, and people like it. And like I said, I'm not trying to defend, you know, Israel. I'm not trying to defend the Zio cartel within America. I'm not trying to defend the IDF, Mossad, CIA, MI6. But if you really want to understand how the controls of this world work, you need to go to the Bible. Stop listening to what these people have to say, right? Go to Deuteronomy 32. When God created the nations, and this was right after the Tower of Babel, right? Humans all spoke the same language. They're all around each other. They're trying to build this ziggurat, some think this ancient technology that might have been able to reach the heavens. And if they can do that, they might be able to reach the hells. And God's like, oh, you guys are up to no good, right? I'm going to destroy this thing, separate all you guys, and create the nations. And he signed a principality or a power or a B'nai Elohim or a son of God to rule over each nation, right? Except he kept Israel for himself. Jacob allotted heritage. Now, as the Old Testament progresses and you have the Israelites turning away from God, worshiping Baal, going into exile, going back to God, that's what the whole story is about. But anyways, at some point after the birth of the Messiah, and, you know, I think he did predict that the temple was going to fall. The temple fell in 70 AD. So at some point, and this is just my belief system, I can't prove this to be true, but God stopped being God Most High, right? At some point, stopped being the principality that ruled over Israel, right? That could have been when they rejected him, I believe in Samuel, and chose Saul to be their king instead, or it could have been when the temple was destroyed in 70 AD. But all of these countries, right? That includes America, that includes Iran, that includes China, are all part of these nations. And there are principalities, fallen angels that rule over each one. And there's worldly governors or these Babylonian bloodlines, right? All over the world. I mean, I'm telling you, go to any country, right? And say, just use China, for example. Did the ancient Chinese emperors of China believe they take their lineage back to the gods? And the answer is yes. And in that case, the dragon gods, these serpentine gods, right? What's a seraphim? It means serpent-like or shiny one. Satan was a seraphim. That's why you see that dragon symbology all over Asia, right? You have the Lee family, which is one of these Illuminati bloodlines that's tied with the Rothschilds. They're kind of ruling over China. But anyways, all these different bloodlines principalities rule the entire nation or rule the entire world. And that's what it is. I mean, that's honest to God, the truth. It's just like Game of Thrones. Like, there's a lot of truth in that. And they don't want you to know that, right? They don't want you to know that. What they want you to do is say, it's the Jews. And you have all this, but Nick Fuentes was saying, right? And it's real. And these people don't even realize it, that they're playing into the hands of the Zionists. That's, I mean, I don't know if that's funny or tragic, right? They have no clue that they are playing into the hands of the Zionists when they do this stuff. And this is, you know, like I said, just go back to that quote by Theodore Herzl. And every time I try to post that quote of Theodore Herzl, and no one wants to see that, right? They're just stuck in their ways and I got to do this instead of really thinking, you know? And one more thing I want to say, I want to talk a little crap about, I shouldn't talk a little crap, but hey, we'll end it with this. You know, Harrison Smith, you know, I love how InfoWars, you know, these guys are just the gold standard in conspiracy that, you know, somehow forgot that Elon Musk was building out the system for the Antichrist to sit on, that Trump was completely captured by Zionist donors, that he was groomed by Roy Cohn, who was a precursor to the Epstein network, friends with Epstein, and deceived everybody. And I'm going to say they deceived them, right? There's some people that got it wrong. I'm telling you, InfoWars deceived everybody. They became propagandists, including Harrison Smith. They became propagandists for the Zio cartel agenda via Trump. And hey, listen, I'm not a professional. I just got into conspiracies about 5 years ago. But the writing was on the wall. Mainly that $250 million that he got from what's their names? Whatever that group is, the Sheldons or the Sheldon, I don't know. But so here he is. And mind you, Harrison Smith is a big, big anti-Zionist, right? That's where he's making his bucks now. He wants you to forget that he told you to vote for them. And that's his big thing, right? So here he is. And he made this comment, one of the most powerful speeches in modern history. Now, what he's referring to is this guy named Nayib Bukele's epic speech. He is the president of El Salvador, right? Now, I'm going to play this real quick.
War with the gangs for 8 months now, and thanks to God, we are winning. This is an incredibly surprising victory that is very close. Let it be made absolutely clear and known to all that the glory and honor belong solely to the Almighty God and are intended for God alone. We human beings have the extraordinary privilege and humble duty of serving as God's instruments, every single one of us working together to bring lasting peace.
Which God, again, is he talking about? There's multiple sons of God, fallen sons of God.
True freedom and genuine happiness to the Salvadoran people. And we are the instrument to heal this land. Each one of you is an instrument of God to make it happen.
And for the record, remember, they rule this world problem, reaction, solution, right? And there's no doubt that there was horrible things going on in El Salvador. But that gave him the approval of the El Salvadorian people to take draconian measures to solve that problem. Kind of like what they tried to do with ICE with rolling out the surveillance state, right? I mean, how many people that were truth tellers that think there's an immigration problem that also viewed the surveillance state as a problem was cheering it on. They were cheering on the surveillance state.
Peace is not achieved by signing agreements between the corrupt, by dividing power among murderers. Peace is built with work, with sweat, with effort, and with the courage that you and...
Okay, anyways, I don't really care about this, but the point is this. Now, what's interesting is Harrison Smith was an anti-Zionist, right? And he's hailing this speech as the most important speech in modern history. Guess what? It takes a 5-minute Google search. I shouldn't say 5 minutes. It takes a 5-second Google search to find out. Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise. So the hypocrisy is absolutely hilarious, right? And there's more. Like I said, read this. Since Bukele's ascension into presidency in 2019, Israeli exports to El Salvador has been rapidly advancing, growing at an annual rate of more than 21%. The increase consists primarily of weapons. El Salvadoran forces are well supplied with Israeli hardware. The military and police use Israeli-made Gali and AR-5 rifles, the Uzi submachine gun, numerous Israeli pistols, a ride in all storms, and whatever that says, in armored vehicles. Right here. For others, however, Bukele's administration is paying top dollar, meaning that his relationship extremely profitable for the high-tech Israeli defense sector. In 2020, the Salvadoran police paid around $3.4 million for 1 year's use of 3 Israeli spyware products. These tools include GeoLock, a program that intercepts calls and texts from targeted phones, Entangles, which uses individual social media accounts to build up files on people, including using their photos for facial recognition, a third wave guard tracker marketed in some region as Guardian tracks users' movements through the GPS on their phone. Perhaps the most notorious piece of spyware used, this is all Salvador, who anti-Zionist Harrison Smith was promoting their Zionist puppet for giving the greatest speech in modern history. Do you get the hypocrisy? And it only took 5 seconds. It only took 5 seconds to realize he was a Zio cartel shill, right? Perhaps the most notorious piece of spyware used, however, is Pegasus, developed by NSO Groups, an outgrowth of Israeli Defense Forces Unit 8200. Right? The app hit the headline in 2022 and it was revealed. Well, the point of this is that these people are either idiots or they have an agenda. And I'm talking about all the big guys, right? All the big guys. And you got to throw Harrison Smith in there because he works for InfoWars, which is clearly intelligence operation. They're either idiots or they have an agenda, because it takes 5 seconds to find out that he is a Zio cartel shill. And as someone who is anti-Zionist, I would never promote this. I don't care what he says, because you got to understand, it's all word magic. These guys are all shills. They're putting a spell on the entire population. Like, I'm not lying when I say this, that this world is filled with, we live in a world filled with ops, bots, and psyops, right? Straight up. The sorcerers of this world use high impact events to manifest the reality that they want. And the tip of the spear of this magic trick is the influencer industrial complex, because that's how they get their ideas into our minds, right? And that's how it works. So I wouldn't trust any of them. Pay attention to them, maybe, to see what they say. It's always important to get the official narrative so you can come to your own conclusion. But I'll take agenda for 500, Alex, 100%. 100%. And once again, it's what do you have blinders about? Who do you not call out? Because the control system is so much bigger than Zionism. I'm sorry, that's their latest pet project, but who was behind, I'm going to get mad. But hey, what can I do? I enjoy talking to you. So let's go over some questions real quick. We've been doing this for a while. I think we're at an hour and 53 minutes. We had Andrew from 6GAENDA on. That was very awesome. If you like this on Instagram, check us out on YouTube. The replay is going to be there. The replay will also be on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We are now uploading the videos to Spotify as well. People seem to be liking that. Thank you. All right, let's see what we got here. Some questions real quick. Let me see here. You know what? I love how you say this right here. But God provided them salvation through Christ Jesus as well, and we pray they come to faith in him as their Messiah. Amen. Right? And I think we should apply that to everybody, right? Like, I'm not going to fall for this psyop, this tribal psyop. Oh, this group bad, that group, good. This racial tension, and they're definitely opening up the borders and allowing this to happen. But truthfully, as a Christian, as a follower of Jesus, I just view it one more person to preach the gospel to, one more person to preach the good news to. Because trust me, God wants them to hear it, just like he wants the Jews to hear it. And if we lead with hatred in our heart, right? And that's what the world wants out of us, right? They want us operating out of a space of hate. How are they going to ever receive the good news that Jesus Christ died for our sins? In fact, they're going to reject it. So why we're chasing I don't want to say that, our own earthly agendas, we actually can discredit and hurt God's kingdom agenda of bringing everybody into the fold. I know a lot of people don't like when I talk about that, but I truly believe it. That's, one hill that I die on. The majority of people are not part of the cabal. The majority of people are deceived like you and I. They're not evil. And ask yourself, because the answer for me is yes here. How many people were deceived into rooting on and supporting a war in the Middle East that ended up killing 5 million people, 6 million people over the time? I was right here. Am I a horrible person? Am I evil? No, I don't think so. I think I was deceived. And guess what? God gave me the grace and the love to find out I was wrong. But you know how I found out I was wrong? Here's the kicker. Through the Holy Spirit, because that's what the Holy Spirit does. And in order to have the Holy Spirit in your life, you must, what does Jesus say? If you love me and keep my commands, I will send you the Spirit of truth, or I will ask the Father to send you the Spirit of the truth. That's the Holy Spirit. So for everybody to wake up, we need the Holy Spirit in our life, and that comes to preaching the gospel. I don't know where I was going with that, but I like what you said there, my friend. If you want to support the show, right there, and you don't want to do a super chat, I got my Venmo right there. It's Ben-Baumgarten-1. And hey, any help is great. Just giving me your ears is great. Giving me your prayers is great. We're here to, just preach the message of salvation when we can. But it definitely helps. So if you want to do it, thank you very much. And everybody who's ever done that, thank you very much. Much appreciated. So there you go, Patrick. That was you. What else do we have here? Neff Hunter. I know Neff Hunter's just joking right there. Matt's dope. I like him. Oh, here he is. He was saying hello to Matt. Shout out Neff Hunter. Shout out Matt. Thank you, Mark. Right there. He gave us a shout out there. Good show. Thank you, Jeff. What else do we have here? Oh, I like that one. Here we go. We are strangers wandering on a strange land because we are ambassadors of the kingdom of heaven. 100%. You couldn't have said it any better. And that's a lot of responsibility, right? That is. We are God's people on this earth. We are helping him helping him in this spiritual battle. We're kind of the tip of the spear here in this earthly realm. Let's see what Mark said here. What do you mean not Tucker, Mark? That's pretty funny. You're right. The chat was on fire. Sorry I couldn't address more of them earlier, just because when I have a guest on, it's harder to do it. But the chat was on fire. So thank you guys for tuning in. I prefer the new covenant of freedom in Christ of grace through faith in every good work. Hey, you nailed it. That's where true freedom comes from, right? Is Jesus. Multiple Bible passages on that. Frees us from the law of sin and death, right? Yeah, the government doesn't give you freedom. Jesus gives you freedom. You know, Paul said while he was locked up in the Roman jails, but I am a prisoner of Christ, right? Christ is overall. Yeah, Fishback is a joke. I mean, Fishback came back and was like, yeah, we'll save that for another one. Fishback is a joke. They're all puppets. All right. Here we go. They are desperate to keep you in the kingdom of this earth and prevent you from operating in the kingdom of heaven, which is operating in the Holy Spirit. I'm with you. Our bodies are the temples where the Holy Spirit resides, right? And that's that spiritual battle. You got to understand these principalities that God has put in charge of the nations, they're always going to be here. And these demons that kind of run shot all throughout it, they're going to be here. That's where we come in as that light, right? That Holy Spirit operating inside of us. And each time someone else comes to the body, we don't get rid of them altogether, but we take a little bit piece back for God. And that's that battle between God Most High and Satan when it comes to our salvation. It's really, I don't want to say a game because it's extremely serious, but that's what's really going on. Erica was at Candace's wedding. Oh, she was at her fake marriage after 17 dates with no dates. And she was asked on Skype with some guy who's in the Bull Indian Club, the British version of the Skull and Bones. As I'm saying, like a lot of my conspiracy heroes are just like dead to me. Not like they're bad people, but just they're pushing this slop, this Candace, Erica Kirk slop. And meanwhile, guess what? The digital surveillance system is being built out. They're passing, laws like Project Genesis and stuff like that. It's coming, but just stay distracted. Just stay distracted with who killed Charlie Kirk. And we don't even know if he's dead. He could be in Valhalla. Yeah, so I think we're gonna leave it there. It's been 2 hours. My voice is tired. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Let's just stay rooted in the Lord, because it's coming. The agenda is coming. And the only way we will stay on that narrow path with Jesus during all of this and we don't get lost in the sauce, I believe, is by having a relationship with our Heavenly Father, right? It's submitting to God's will. And we might slip up here and there, but on the big stuff, submitting to God's will and allow the Holy Spirit to operate through us. And there's nothing, absolutely nothing, the enemy hates more than that, right? The enemy doesn't care if you call for a violent revolution. Great, more bloodshed for him. What they do care about is that you actually understand why we're here, what's really going on, and that it's all spiritual and it all has to do with salvation. And there is a solution to that, right? Our ammo is the gospel. And the minute we start finding that out, that's when the enemy gets really pissed. So that's why they throw all these influencers at our faces to get us tied back into the world. But just vote for Thomas Massey. Yeah. Satan's the prince of this world. I don't know how Christians are not accepting that. It says it in the Bible. So, but I guess we just need a hero, right? Who knows? All right. So I think that's about it. Once again, God bless. Love your neighbor like you love yourself, the way Jesus loved us. And that's everybody. That's white, black, Mexican, Jewish, Christian, Hindu. Every single one of these people is an opportunity to share the gospel with. Yeah, that's where I'll leave it. Have a good day and God bless.